Val has already shared the stream link, so good. We're at the top of the hour. If you would, please give me a Y that you can hear me clearly. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone, and welcome to VWEC's Expert Series. I'm Brayla Genevieve, and today we will be presenting Exploring Creativity Through Second Life Image Making with WrenNoir Cerise and Consuela Blanche. Before we begin, please note that our presentation today will be recorded and uploaded onto YouTube. Therefore, we ask that you please turn off your mics during the presentation until we have the VWEC YouTube channel can be found at this link in local chats. When you check out YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the VWEC channel to be notified of all the excellent content there. When you check out YouTube, I already said that. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce our guests. First, WrenNoir has been creating art as long as she can remember. She has a master's degree in art psychotherapy and was practicing art psychotherapy for over 15 years. She has also taught graduate courses in art therapy and supervised art therapy interns. 10 years ago, she moved from New York to Ireland. One 100 graduates to date for in Second Life, and you can click her profile to see her Flickr stream. Consuela became a Second Life resident in 2007 as a real-life educator associated with the Discovery Education Network. She has had a variety of roles here, including writer, actress, model, producer, manager, photographer, dancer, videographer, and DJ. Consuela was part of the first class of Visionaire ever since. In addition to her work in Second Life, Consuela expects to complete her doctorate in education this year. Her dissertation topic is learner-centered pedagogy in online spaces, and she is passionate about finding new and innovative ways to engage learners in virtual environments. Please welcome WrenNoir and Consuela.
so much. What a lovely introduction. Thank you. My name is WrenNoir. Please, I want to thank everybody for having both myself and Consuela here today and taking your time to come and listen to our presentation. Our presentation today, for your pleasure, is about exploring creativity through creating a class for Second Life residents. So, can the visual arts be taught in Second Life? And if so, what are some of the best possible practices in doing that? After 10 years of teaching the Visionaire class, there are a few things that we did learn. They may not answer what is best practice, but at least they do get us closer. Visionaire Institute of SL Photography is a 10-week course that helps students understand what makes a Second Life photo really resonate with a viewer and what makes a photo languish, not really say anything, and not be lingered upon. So what we teach students is how to actually see what is in their images so that they can create a clearer conversation with their viewer. This talk is going to explore the best practices that we uncovered in these 10 years teaching the course. The talk will cover technical challenges, the semester structure, the individual session structure, and the challenges of teaching adults about their own art making. This last part I'm going to discuss a little bit more fully later on with regards to building confidence and resilience through art critiques. And these art critiques have become the backbone of how the majority of the learning in Visionaire takes place. So you heard a little bit about myself. I came to Second Life after a recommendation by a colleague at the college where I worked as a counselor, a SUNY college. I was in upstate New York. And I resisted for a really, really long time because I knew I was going to get hooked. But eventually, for exploring all this creativity was entirely too much to resist. I did join in 2009. I began taking images pretty quickly, and people started noticing these images. So I was being asked to take photos of them for their profiles, to enter modeling contests. I was asked to do vendor photos and photos to go in magazines. Mentioned, I have a master's degree in art psychotherapy and was a practicing psychotherapist at an outpatient clinic where I introduced adults to the healing and self-reflective aspects of creating arts. A lot of art therapists work with children, but I really absolutely enjoyed working with adults with the art therapy milieu. I do love working with them because often creating art is something that they had lost along the way, and it is so healing to reconnect adults with something that they did naturally as children. I also worked as the director of wellness at the same SUNY college that got me into Second Life. And at that college, I was creating programs for students, faculty, and staff around wellness. Currently, as Brayla mentioned, community-wide programs to keep the town lively and vibrant, and I do town-wide events to bring people in from the surrounding area, and that's me.
And I love hearing your story, Wren. So I just want to take a minute to thank Virtual Worlds Education Consortium for having us. I'm really excited because I haven't presented as an educator in SL in a very long time. Like, I've been here 15 years. Easily 12 or 13 years since I presented as an educator. So as far as my background, as Briella shared a little bit in the beginning, I learned about Second Life from the Discovery Educator Network. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with that group. I don't think they have a presence here anymore in SL, but they were the reason I came here. I attended a conference, and I learned about SL actually in July of 2007, and I thought it was weird. So I wasn't there yet, but then I had some downtime over Thanksgiving break, and I was like, let me check this out. You go through your conference notes and everything, and I remember seeing the tool, and I'm like, okay, let me check out all these tools I didn't have time to because I'm teaching, I'm at work, and so then that's how I came to SL. It took some doing because I know the right, Eric, for sure, but the how the orientation these days is so much better than it was in 2007. I was like dumped on some island with a bunch of other avatars that looked like me, Girl Next Door, if you remember that avatar, and had to sort out how to even function in SL. And I am stubborn, and I want to figure things out. But we did get torches. I think I still have mine. And this is not my original avatar, so the date doesn't match, but, it's, how it is. You start creating alts for fun. Like, what did I miss out on when I created my first avatar that I didn't know when I didn't know how to SL? And then, I've made more avatars since. But, getting back on script, so let's see. So Den was fabulous. Like it was already commented on. They're a great, great group of educators. So after joining in 2007, I presented on various things as a Den Star member. I was fascinated by SL and eventually moved away from the Den to explore SL creativity and writing, role play, modeling, theater, and dance. In RL, let me advance here. So yes, in RL, I have been an educator in Southern California for nearly 24 years. I work primarily with grades TK to 5 and have had a variety of roles inside and outside of the public school classroom. Apart from my teaching credential, I have a master's degree in education and a master's degree in educational technology. And as was mentioned earlier, I am working on my doctorate. It's in K-12 organizational leadership, and I'm currently writing my dissertation on learner-centered pedagogy and online spaces. So that's one of the things I've really come to enjoy about being involved in Visionaire is not only the SL creativity side of it, but an opportunity for me to like scratch that educator itch and help make an already amazing institution even better. All right, Ren.
Thank you. Okay. So today we'll tell you about that very course, Visionaire, that's been running for 10 years, and tell you what we learned. So Visionaire is a program for current Second Life residents. It's not advertised outside Second Life, as the task is to learn how to take better images within the Second Life platform. We use Firestorm because it has a wonderful tool called Photo Tools. But we can use, of course, any of our viewers to take images. You're going to see how what we teach can be easily translated to any image making in real life as well as Second Life. I'll tell you a little bit about the history of Second Life. Before we started, myself, WrenNoir Cerise, and Noriko Okawa had been creating images within Second Life for a lot of years. We were featured in online magazines about SL artwork and fashion, and we're receiving photography commissions inworld from businesses and residents and exhibited in inworld galleries. We were receiving many messages from residents asking us, how are you taking these images? What are you doing? How can I improve my own images as I create them in Second Life? I have these ideas and I have a vision, but my final outcome doesn't match what is in my head. So they were hoping, in asking us these questions, that we would have some tips and tricks that we could impart. We did. But in the middle of all these questions, what we found is that as they were showing us their images, we noticed that what they were doing is they were taking snapshots. And they were taking snapshots instead of creating a purposefully arranged image that would impart the feeling that they were experiencing in that moment that they wanted to capture. They wanted to have their images to have impact on the viewer. Or at the very least, if not on the viewer, they wanted these images to remind them of the emotion they felt at the time. And they could not figure out what to do to achieve that goal. Now, what you will see is some slides from residents who have given Visionaire students who have given us permission, and you can see their befores and after the Visionaire, and you can see a huge gain in skill, I think. Anyway, both Noriko and myself are artists in real life. I taught graduate level courses in art therapy for several years, and Noriko had been a photographer for Vogue magazine. And this is one of her images that actually was featured in Vogue Italia, and Porsche did an event in Milan, and this is one of the images that they chose. Out of thousands of recipients, this is one of, I believe, 10 or 12. So, Noriko and I were not proprietary about our techniques. We wanted to share what we knew because we both believe that a rising tide lifts all boats. In improving how people take images, we figured we would ourselves end up growing and improving in the process, but also possibly, and in some grandiose thinking, we would improve the experience of Second Life in general. We are both very comfortable sharing all that we know, and we also had the skill set between the two of us to create a course on Second Life photography. And this is how Visionaire began. From the start, we knew that this is going to be a group endeavor rather than teaching individuals. Students were going to learn so much more from each other than they would just from hearing us. And indeed, the group experience and sharing of homework and the critiques is what students say has helped them learn the most. And I'll talk about that more as we go on. Noriko and I created the curriculum. We try to hit all the hot spots of what anybody would want to know. And we included so much information that the course ended up stretching to 10 weeks, which was quite daunting. And we wondered, is anybody going to put up with us, put up with this kind of thing for 10 weeks? But on that first semester, we had 16 applicants, of which Consuela was one, and ended up running 2 separate sections. We have since run 1, sometimes 2 semesters per year, and are limiting each semester to 10 students per semester. We learned early on, as most of you educators would agree, that a smaller class size is more manageable and more meaningful for students. It allows instructors to give a bit more personalized instruction and feedback, which is very valuable for student learning. So what have we figured out since then? We figured out that if people are really interested, they are going to commit to the 10 weeks. They are also going to put up with a 3-hour session, which is how long each week session lasts. We did have initially some technical issues.
And I'm going to speak to those, right?
Yes, you are.
Right, because I'll give you a little break. So, technical issues beleaguered us initially. In 2013, when we met inworld to share homework images and use Skype rather than inworld voice. Voice at the time was not very reliable and prone to lag issues. Skype was only a little better then, but had its own problems as Skype relies on call participants to join one server, which easily got laggy. As of a few years ago, we began using Discord. Discord's voice servers are more reliable and the infrastructure is much more efficient for clients. So unless students are doing doing computer intensive things in the background, they have no difficulty hearing a speaker or speaking. A challenge with Discord is that it has its own learning curve. For example, which channel to type or speak in, or setting up a headset.
In the beginning, we also did not have the technical skills to create videos. So each lesson was taught during class time, with the students furiously taking notes as we spoke and showed examples. So if you can imagine that, it was a bit cumbersome for the students, and no matter how slowly I spoke, information was bound to be missed or not retained. Since then, Consuela has been really a lifesaver. She is recording our video lessons ahead of time, uploading them to YouTube so that the students can review them.
And then if I could jump in on that thought, I wanted to say, I know initially Wren and Noriko were making the videos. I think it was Noriko, right, Wren, who was making them? And then I was just inspired to learn it. Like, I had always wanted to learn either, not necessarily, machinima per se, but I suppose it's technically that. But just learning what it took to put the videos together, because I knew how valuable it was to make those. And I've really enjoyed making videos since. So Visionaire had a lot to do with why I learned to make videos, SL videos in the first place. All right, so the next one is about class structure. So each week we meet for a 3-hour session on Discord, but that's just one part of the model that we use. Let me not forget to use the speakeasy. So next, to explain. So I know we kind of have a mixed audience of, Visionaire students as well as educators. So I'm sure the educators in the room understand the flipped classroom model. So for those of you that don't, it's an instructional approach that reverses the traditional order of content delivery and homework. In a traditional classroom, students typically learn new concepts during class time and then reinforce their understanding through homework assignments completed outside of class. So in the flipped classroom model, students are exposed to new content outside of the classroom before they come to class, and class time is utilized for active learning activities and collaborative discussions. Right. The core concept of the flipped classroom model involves providing students with pre-recorded video lectures, online readings, or other multimedia resources to review before class. This allows students to learn the foundational material at their own pace, pausing, rewinding, and replaying the content as needed. And I know Wren would agree with me that we have heard students many times say that they've watched the video countless times to try to understand something, and I'm really glad that it's there for them. And that's exactly the purpose, is for them to use it in that way. So once students have acquired the basic knowledge outside of class, they can come to the classroom ready to engage in more interactive and application-oriented activities. The teacher becomes a facilitator, guiding students through discussions, group work, problem-solving exercises, or hands-on projects. This approach promotes active learning, critical thinking, collaboration, and deeper understanding of the subject matter. The flipped classroom model offers several potential benefits. Firstly, students have the opportunity to engage with the content multiple times, which can enhance comprehension and retention. They can also progress at their own pace, catering to individual learning styles and needs. Secondly, class time is utilized for higher order thinking skills such as analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, rather than just passive listening. Students can ask questions, participate in discussions, and receive immediate feedback from the teacher and their peers. This approach fosters a more interactive and student-centered learning environment. Additionally, the flipped classroom model encourages self-directed learning and responsibility, as students are responsible for their own learning outside of class. It also allows for differentiation, as teachers can provide additional resources or support to students who require extra assistance, while challenging those who have already grasped the materials. And before I kind of pass the mic over back to Wren, I know just even in that closing comment about differentiation, there's a lot of outside support outside of Visionaire class time. Wren is often giving of her time to help students and, have kind of personal critiques, private guidance with students as tour as well, or more technical component. And I just think that's incredibly valuable. And I know the students in the room who've experienced this probably would definitely agree with me.
Yeah, where our classes start, I tell the students, you are my number one priority. Whatever else is happening in my Second Life world, the class and the students are my number one priority. And then they laugh and they say, oh, only during class time, and after that we're chopped liver. So no, they're always important to me. Anyway, providing these videos ahead of time is important for our adult students. For many of them, it has been some time since they have sat in a classroom. So having these videos helps them ease into the process of being instructed. Additionally, these videos are always available to them so they can refer back, as Consuela was mentioning. So in-class activities. For the class, we model how to proper homework critique right from the start. In the beginning, I do the majority of the critiquing, and I model and provide vocabulary to describe what people are seeing. As the semester progresses, with enough modeling having taken place, I like to see the students be the ones to do a self-critique as well as be able to critique each other's work in a very positive and supportive way. I'm going to talk more about the critique process in a bit. We do begin each session, each weekly session, by asking if they had any thoughts about the video or how the homework went, if they had any questions, just a broad opening of how are you doing? How did that go for you? Generally, I find that this is a lot less about asking a question about what is going on, but more about giving them an opportunity to exhale. The homework we give them each week and every week is challenging, and so they might be holding their breath for their turn to show their image, their turn for their image to be talked about and critiqued. So this opening question of how did you find that, how was it, gives them an opportunity to exhale together. Generally, one person will open up and they'll say, oh, it was great, I loved it. And maybe other people will join in, or they'll say, oh gosh, it was awful for me, it was dreadful, I couldn't get it. And no matter what they say, it's all valid. It's all their own experience, and nobody else can say otherwise. So all questions, all comments, all feelings are valid. If they have a question and it was covered in the video or class, it only means that we just need to review it again. So this opening question of how was it is more about saying, hey, we're all in the same boat, and some of us are rowing, and some of us are putting on life jackets, but we are all on the same boat. Then we do the part that takes the most time. And this is the art critique. Many adults have not had an art critique. So this is the big meat of Visionaire. Each student takes anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes to have their homework discussed. This part is the bulk of the session where the greatest learning takes place. A student with a very robust set of skills learns plenty from a student who is only at their start of their journey, and of course, vice versa. As stated before, in the beginning, I do most of the critique, and I model how to do it. I introduce vocabulary of how to do it. And the process of the critique is very straightforward. Number one, they're asked how they feel about their image, and they're asked to talk a little bit about it. They can say anything at this point. It's an open-ended question. How do you feel about this image? How was the homework for you? they will choose to discuss what they choose to discuss. They might choose to discuss their challenges, or maybe a happy accident, or something purposeful that they did. And so in choosing the salient issue for them is something that's important in the critique. This is what we are going to cover, as well as what we are noticing in their images. The next step after, how do you feel about your image? Tell us about it. The next step is to ask very specifically, what do you like about your image and what don't you like about it? Generally, the student is really good and hits the nail on the head of the portions of the image that work or don't work. This question of what do you like about it and what don't you like about it also helps me gauge where they are on their journey. Yeah, very good. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. But anyway, it also helps me gauge where they are on their journey. For example, a student might say, that bunny was so cute, I wanted to take a photo of it. And that tells me that the student might be at the beginning of their journey. They might be at the beginning of learning how to create an image that has impact. A student further down the line might say, I wanted to take a photo of a bunny at a party because I thought that would make for a really good story. And yet again, the next student that is further down the line might say something like, I wanted to take a photo of a bunny, and I placed him at a party with friends and then put him on a red chair so that he would show off his white fur. And then I wanted candles because they would cast a glow on the whole scene. So each of these students is going to require something very different from a critique. Each student is encouraged to go to their next step or two, which is not necessarily the very last step or the fully accomplished step. As educators, you are well aware of this. On the first day of piano lessons, it's not very useful to compare a student to how they are in relation to Beethoven. But it is so much better if on that first day of piano lesson, they feel confident enough that they will have a sequence of notes figured out by the end of the week. So the first thing is, how was that for you? The next thing we ask them is, tell us what you like and what you don't like. And then finally, in the critique, they may not have had the words to describe what they are seeing and possibly don't fully know how to break down an image to understand the impact of the elements that they arranged. So once they tell me what they like and don't like, that is the road that we're going to take. The next question is, don't just tell me what you like and don't like, but now you're going to tell me why. Why do you think you don't like it? And why do you think you do like it? And I'm going to let them struggle with this for a little bit. Why don't I like it? Why do I like it? And this struggle is really important, and I don't ever want to skip it. But I don't let it go too long, because then it just becomes really frustrating, which is not helpful. So if it goes too long and they don't have the words still, I'm going to step in and offer some possible words. Like, for example, the bunny in the red chair is really great because the color red represents whatever, and the bunny stands out so much more because he has this white fur. So that's really good and probably why you like it. So I might describe it like that. Or if they don't like something, I might offer them a descriptor of why they might not like it, while also offering the solution of what they could do differently so that maybe they might like it, or maybe it would work a little bit better in this image. The students who are not presenting their work, are not being critiqued, also get the benefit of hearing the vocabulary and learning that critique vocabulary. As the semester progresses, the students will do more of the talking about their work and about each other's work. And I might ask them to do so before I even say word one. All right, now we'll talk about learner-centered
pedagogy. Right.
Yeah.
So, this, I like to insert my little educator bits in here because it's, you're talking about a very specific thing. So I like to call it out. And, learner-centered pedagogy has kind of become my wheelhouse for the last several years as I am on the long side of my dissertation journey. Some people can crank that out in 3 years. I cannot. But, learner-centered pedagogy, let me talk a little bit about that because Visionaire really captures all of it. So for anyone who's not familiar with what that is, it places the learner at the center of the learning process. So everything that Wren was describing. It focuses on creating an environment where students actively engage in their own learning, take ownership of their education, and develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills. Learner-centered pedagogy recognizes that each student is unique and brings their own experiences, interests, and strengths to the learning process, which was by far one of the big reasons why I fell in love with Visionaire and Wren and Rico's creation of this concept in Second Life. In learner-centered classrooms, teachers act as facilitators, guiding students' learning rather than being the sole source of knowledge. They provide a supportive and inclusive learning environment where students feel comfortable taking risks, asking questions, and expressing their ideas. Learner-centered pedagogy emphasizes collaboration, student autonomy, and self-reflection, which is huge. So here are some key principles and practices associated with learner-centered pedagogy that are used in Visionaire. Make sure I not forget to advance the speakeasy, which I will do when I'm talking. Okay, here we go. Active learning. So learner-centered classrooms promote active learning experiences where students participate in hands-on activities, discussions, and projects. This active engagement helps students construct knowledge and deepen their understanding of concepts. Personalized learning. Recognizing that students have different learning styles, interests, and abilities, learner-centered pedagogy seeks to tailor instruction to meet individual needs. It involves providing students with choices and opportunities to pursue their interests within the curriculum. Collaboration and cooperative learning. Learner-centered classrooms encourage collaboration among students. Group projects, discussions, and cooperative learning activities foster teamwork, communication skills, and the ability to work effectively with others. Inquiry-based learning. Inquiry-based learning is a central component of learner-centered pedagogy. Students are encouraged to ask questions, investigate problems, and seek answers. This approach develops critical thinking skills and a deep understanding of the subject matter. Student reflection and metacognition. Learner-centered pedagogy encourages students to reflect on their learning process, set goals, and monitor their progress. Metacognitive strategies help students become aware of their own thinking and learning strategies, leading to greater self-regulation and academic growth. And here's a big piece, is using technology and resources. Learner-centered classrooms leverage technology and a variety of resources to enhance learning experiences. Technology tools, educational apps, and online resources can support student exploration, research, and creativity. And I'm going to take a little sidebar from the script here for a moment because, as I mentioned in the beginning, I am a TK to 5 educator. I have always been in the elementary forum. So when I first got here as a part of the Discovery Educator Network, I could not see a direct connection to why I would need to stay here in Second Life as an elementary educator, apart from collaborating and networking with other educators, which was in and of itself very valuable. So since I couldn't use Second Life with elementary students, to finally find a way to connect education and Second Life for me as an educator was incredibly fulfilling with Visionaire, because I could finally make that connection. So continuing with the script, assessment for learning. Learner-centered pedagogy focuses on formative assessment, which provides ongoing feedback to students about their learning progress. Assessments are used to guide instruction, identify areas for improvement, and empower students to take on an active role in their own assessment. So, apart from learner-centered pedagogy, we have our post-class assignments I'm going to speak on a little bit. Each class covers a new tool or technique for students to learn about, and they receive post-class assignments in the form of homework. The homework is specifically tailored to each lesson. It encourages students to focus on each new skill we want them to practice, while simultaneously incorporating previous lessons learned into their photograph. For example, when we teach about using lighting and projectors, the lesson plan instructs them on how to create light sources. And for their homework, they show both an image where they have created all of the illumination used for the scene, as well as a shot showing the different lights and projectors used. This approach allows students to practice the techniques they have learned previously while setting the majority of their focus on applying the new technique or tool that has been taught for the week. And as typical when I'm talking, I have forgotten to use the speakeasy. So let's see. Yeah, okay, caught up on the speakeasy. So next is the semester structure. And Ren, that mic is over to you.
Okay, fantastic. So I'll tell you a little bit about the semester structure. Basically, we cut it into thirds. The first third of the semester is heavily focused on technical skills. So how to use the graphics preferences, how to manipulate EEP, formerly known as wind lights, creating lights and projectors. And we basically, in this beginning third, we front load all the technical information, possibly overloading them with all this information, but we bring all the technical bits to the front so that we have the rest of the semester to practice what is learned. We have weeks then to reinforce this initial information and see if there was any instruction that was somehow missed that needs to be reworked or refreshed. During the first third of the semester is where most of our instructional videos are shared with students, and this helps them build a solid foundation for progressing through the semester. The second third of the course focuses on creating more than a snapshot, the reason why many of them come to Visionaire. So here we cover compositional rules, how light and color create a mood, portrait photography, landscape photography, personal self-expression. And during this part of the semester, we don't have videos for a lot of these components. And the example given during class times, the videos help them get in the frame of mind where they are comfortable being taught, so they are better able to hold on to the information when we instruct them on the spot in the classroom. We don't videotape this portion for a couple of reasons. Unlike the technical information, which doesn't change dramatically very frequently, the examples that we show them can change dramatically. So we would be doing videos much too often, so we don't do a video on, let's say, composition. Additionally, especially in composition, we show examples of what not to do. And we don't want someone accidentally stumbling on one of our videos and see one of their own images placed in this not wonderful category. So we don't do videos on this. During this second portion, the students have more freedom. We might ask them to take a portrait, and that's it. In the initial part, we told them more about the technical parts we want to see. But in the second half, we just say, take a portrait. They would already know how to set up the viewer. They already know how to set up the snapshot window, the graphic preferences, the creating their own light sources. They know the technical bits. So we leave it to them to use the viewer correctly. And this is where we get to see if they internalize the instruction in the first portion of the course. With the technical skills all figured out, they can also play a lot more confidently with their creativity and their images. Towards the end of the semester, when we are able, we invite guest speakers. And Ren Carling is here in the audience, and she's going to be our speaker on Sunday. And we invite guest speakers. Hey, Ren, thank you for offering to do that. We invite guest speakers to the class that students may be familiar with through their work on Flickr, which is a platform that most SL photographers use to showcase their work. We want the students to hear varied voices and varied opinions. We also focus more on student understanding and exploring their individual style and voice through their images. So very loosely, the first third is technical, the second third is practicing their artistic skills, and the last third is an exploration of their personal imagery. And it is important to have other voices present. One opinion about what creates a good image, while it might be an informed opinion, is still just one opinion on a subject that is very subjective. Art is very subjective. Myself and Noriko do very complementary things in class. While I am discussing homework with the class, Noriko is downloading that image and putting lines all over it, like you saw in that shot of the lighthouse, just to show how composition and lighting are working through that image. We do not review homework ahead of time, and we do this very purposefully. We want our interaction with the work presented to be fresh and unrehearsed, just as it is for the rest of the class. So what happens when you see an image for the first time? How do you work your way through that initial response and through that image? And that is something that we want to model. What impact does an image have, and how do you work through it? Generally, Noriko and I tend to agree on what makes an image work or not work, what steps are needed to make it better, but sometimes we disagree. And this is incredibly important as well. We can have a discussion about it. We can model how to do this productively. And then we have the students chime in with their opinion, which invariably is going to put them in a position to disagree with one of us. And then their personal power increases. They don't have to disagree with us in secret. They can do it openly. They can defend their position, defend their artwork, and still be highly regarded. So we welcome dissent, but they need to have a nice solid reason for it. We are also very, very lucky to have two other people in the classroom. One is Consuela, and the other is Tour, both who have been students in Visionaire. What Consuela does is she gives a refreshing perspective from a student who has been there and done that. And she also does what I cannot do so well. She keeps everything on track, which is brilliant. Tour, on the other hand, speaks an entirely other language. He speaks the language of the technical writer, the computer expert, the mathematician. And while we may think the students taking a course on photography are all speaking the language of the visual, that's not the case. There are students who understand concepts by understanding the underlying principles, the underlying technology, the physics, the mathematics, concepts that I really don't speak about. So Tour can come in and he can answer questions like, why does the F number do XYZ when I manipulate the focal length? And as an artist, I don't care. It just does. But Tour is able to explain why. Other voices present in the class are those of graduates. We invite those who have previously taken the course to come and listen in for their personal refresher, as well as offer their perspective. This part we curb a little bit because they love speaking up, and I love them speaking up, but it can create a little bit of chaos. So we ask them to type in their comments instead of speaking in the class. It slows them down a little bit, but they can still impart their fabulous wisdom. No, Sandy. No. Oh my goodness. At the end of the semester, we have a fabulous graduation celebration. We provide students a space where they can exhibit their artwork. We consider this class number 10. because the students have to curate the work that they're going to present. We ask them to present about 8 to 10 images, so they have to pick from many images, and curating and being discerning about what images you want to show is part of the lessons that they learn. Students invite family and friends. Consuela does the music, and generally our sim is full during these events. The students get to showcase their work.
I wanted to interrupt you one real quick, Ren, because the DJ thing is another reason, like Visionaire. I learned how to make videos because first Visionaire taught me how to make pictures, then Visionaire taught me how to make videos, and then Visionaire taught me how to play music in SL. So just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. So we have music to keep the energy high for the graduation. You're seeing images here of some of the graduation exhibits. The audience is always generous with their positive comments. Very unsolicited, by the way. They just come out with what they're thinking, and always very positive. And some of our students have even been scouted by inward galleries who ask them to exhibit at their gallery. It's very much a celebration of their craft and their commitment to what they want to learn. We'll leave you with the last slide, I think, showing you some promotional information.
Yeah, I was getting there. There were a lot of graduation pictures. I just thought it was really nice to include a lot of different pictures about the exhibits, because the students create these exhibits. Like, they learn how to show off their work and make a cohesive exhibit. And so we have an active exhibit up right now from our last class. And so the pictures that are being shown are from that exhibit. And I'm sure Tour can probably drop the slurl to that in a little bit so people can go see it firsthand.
So that is the end of our talk about what we do at Visionaire and what we have learned in these 10 years. Thank you. Thank you for having been here. And if you have any questions, we are happy to answer them. Oh, thank you, Buffy. Thank you. As you're saying, wow, very impressive, and that's really exciting. It makes me think of my Visionaire educator in me that says, well, what did you find very impressive? And what it was very exciting. Because I don't let our students get away with it. Yes.
Oh, there's a question. Did you see the question, Phil's question, Ren?
Oh,
what did not go right? Uh-huh. And what did you do about it?
Oh, you can take the class. What did not go right?
I'm going to drop the slurl to the class real quick while you do that. Not the swirl, the link to the website.
Okay. What did not go right? Really, we were beleaguered the most about the technical aspects. So that was one of the things that did not go right. And so new technology helped us out of that. Classes aren't often enough. Yes, that's a problem. That's a problem. I'm going to answer what Barbara said. Barbara took a course that was an accelerated course. It was a course for students we felt were far enough in the process that they could do an accelerated 5-week course instead of 10-week course. So that's something we experimented. Maybe 10 weeks doesn't work for everybody, and so we practiced 5 weeks. We only did it once. We still need to ask those students how they felt about it, but we are allowing those students who took the 5-week course to come in and listen in on the 10-week one so that they have something to compare. A Fibonacci Masterclass, that was a very tough course. So technology helped us. We are experiment with the length of the course. 10 weeks is a lot.
And Rand, if I could jump in on that thought too, one of the reasons why we did a shortened course like that is because we do, I think Tour referred to it as a postmortem, and I didn't like that wording, but like after the class is done, to kind of bring all the teachers together and reflect on what worked, what didn't work. And so because we have such a variety of skill sets and abilities, that's where the experimentation on coming to do a 5-week kind of accelerated course for students who could handle that pace. Because I think some of the feedback we had gotten from students before was that the 10 weeks was a bit long for them, especially if they had a lot of these skills in place.
And going back to Barbara saying classes aren't often enough. Part of that reason is because, especially during a 10-week class, I give everything to this class. I put all of myself in it, and it takes a lot of my energy. I do it outside of class. I assist students in class, so it takes a lot out of me. And my recovery time after the class is usually several months. So then we have to deal with holidays, and our semesters end up being once a year, sometimes twice.
That's true with regular teaching too. You just have to stop for a while. We usually call that summer break. I noticed that Tor put in a slural for the most recent graduation exhibit into local chat. So if anyone is interested in that, you can always grab it. We do have a couple of more minutes, about 5 more minutes. If anyone has a quick question, you are welcome to do that in local chat or in voice if you'd like to.